ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदादतं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः। Sri Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, recorded by M. Mahendranath Gupta. The discussion is about Samsari Jiva, Baddha Jiva, the worldly people who are bound to the samsara. By definition, Sri Ramakrishna says samsara is kamini kanchana, attachment to woman and gold, attachment to lust and greed. So what is the nature of these people is being discussed. Then one of the devotees is asking Agyan Bhakta, Mahashay, Erup Samsari Jivar ki upay nahi? It's a natural question, frighteningly terrifying description about the samsari jiva. Worldly people who get bound again and again, they come to the samsara. So what is the way out? How do they get emancipated, get liberated? Sri Ramakrishna, avashya upaya chhe. माझे माझे साधु संग और माझे माझे निर्जन থেকে ईश्वर चिंता करते हैं और विचार करते हैं तार काछे प्रार्थना करते हैं আমাকে भक्ति विश्वास दाओ. See, very interesting, whenever Sri Ramakrishna talks about the way out, the path to salvation, he always combines the yogas. Jnana, Bhakti, Karma and Yoga. This is a unique message which Swami Vivekananda took up and propagated all over the world. And the beautiful picture which he drew as the emblem of the Ramakrishna mission says, the karma represented by the wavy waters of the ocean, bhakti symbolized by a blooming lotus, jnana represented by the rising sun, and yoga by the encircling serpent of the Kundalini Shakti. By a combination of these four, jnana, bhakti, karma and yoga, the vision of the Paramatman, whose symbol is the swan in the picture, is obtained. So this is a central message of Sri Ramakrishna, which Swami Vivekananda elaborated and preached in a profound and powerful way. In fact, Swami Vivekananda says in the rules book of the Ramakrishna Math, a person who shows a deficiency in even one of these four yogas has not cast himself in the mold of Sri Ramakrishna. This is a very interesting statement. The mold of Ramakrishna means a combination of the four yogas. So equally, you should try to develop in all the four faculties of rationality, thinking, feeling, bhakti, unselfish activity, karma, and meditative awareness, yoga. You can see this statement, for example, avashya upaya chhe. Sri Ramakrishna says, of course, definitely there is a way out. One, माझे माझे साधु संग और माझे माझे निर्जन থেকে ईश्वर चिंता करते हैं, योगा. विविक्त सेवी लघ्वाशी यतवाक काय मानसः ध्यान योग परो नित्यम वैराग्यम समुपाश्रितः. The Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter. ध्यान योग परो नित्यम विविक्त सेवी निर्जने वाश. Go alone in solitude and spend your life in meditation. Nirjana, aloneness. और विचार करते हैं ज्ञान विचार वस्तु विचार. So yoga, then jnana and bhakti तार काछे प्रार्थना करते हैं आमाके भक्ति विश्वास दाओ. And karma, anashakta karma, Sri Ramakrishna always speaks about it. Sadhu Sangha. Who is a sadhu? A person by seeing whom the thought of God is aroused in you. जाके दर्शन मात्री ईश्वरेर उद्दीपना है. You feel stimulated with the divine thoughts. Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful, simple example, as he always does. When you see a lawyer wearing a black coat, immediately you think of law, you think of court, you think of legal proceedings. When you see a person, police uniform, immediately think of law and order. So the uniform creates a tremendous impression. A sadhu, maybe he is wearing a Garuva cloth or may not be, but still he has devoted himself completely to the thought of God, cut away from family ties, doesn't have wife or children, completely and totally devoted to contemplation on God, cultivating divine wisdom, serving others, looking upon them as God, with no feeling of ill will to anybody. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sukha kshami. This is the quality of a Bhagavad Bhakta, a devotee of God mentioned in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. This is the same as Sthita Prajna in the 2nd chapter. Indriyan indriyarthebhyastasya prajna pratisthita. And Trigunatita, later in the Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter. Who is a Trigunatita? A person who has gone beyond the three qualities. He is the same as Bhagavad Bhakta, devotee of God. It is the same as Sthita Prajna, Jnani. So Jnana, Bhakti and Yoga combined. Everywhere this idea is there. So the moment you see a sadhu, a man of God, immediately is aroused in your mind thought of God, divine wisdom, inclination towards God, and the conviction that God is real and can be realized. So the sadhu sangha majhe majhe korte hai. When worldliness comes upon you like a cloud, go to your sadhu, then you get vairagya, dispassion for the world. Do you understand the transitoriness of all worldly attachments? And you get the feeling that God alone is real and all else is unreal, transitory, ephemeral. So the vibration created by a sadhu, the atmosphere which he exudes, that elevates you. Majhe majhe sadhu sangha. Then, ar majhe majhe nirjane theke Ishwar chinta. Go to solitude when nobody disturbs you. The world is too much with us. the poet says. We are occupied with the world a little too much. The COVID-19 pandemic has given a great opportunity to cultivate divine thoughts and just remain with ourselves. But we are restless. We find our own company so detestable, as it were, that we run behind others. Just stay put. Be in your own company. And you will feel that whatever you want is within you. Sri Ramakrishna is very fond of singing this song, Kamala Kantas. Apnate apni theko mon, jeo na mon karo ghore, ja chabi ta boshe pabi, ja chabi ta boshe pabi, khojo nijo antapure apnate apni theko mon. O mind, just stay put with yourself. Don't run about like an extrovert, moving around, roaming in the outside world. It's an attitude, it's not physical. Attitudinally, don't stay put with yourself, you go out. And don't go out, just stay put with yourself. Whatever you want, you will just get if you dive deep into your own inner consciousness. Sri Ramakrishna's fundamental message. Dubu 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 roop sagare amar man. Dive deep, O mind, in the ocean of God's beauty. Doob de re man kali bole, hridi raat na kore agad jole. O mind, dive deep in this ocean, taking the name of Kali. What will you get? Ratana manikya kato pore ache shei jole. Tumi dam samarthe ek dube jao. Milibe ratana phale phale. How many pearls and rubies and expensive jewels are there at the bottom of the ocean? Dive deep, straight go to the depths of the ocean, and how many fantastic jewels and precious stones will be available for you. That is the spiritual essence which is within you. Don't merely float on the surface. Go dive deep, dive deep. Is one of the most fundamental messages of Sri Ramakrishna, which you will find in the Gospel, the Kathamrita. So he says, Nirjane theke Ishwar chinta karte hai. If you say, I can't do it also always, do it now and then, majhe. Now and then, আর বিচার করতে হয় জ্ঞান যোগা বিচারা জ্ঞান যোগা নির্জনে যাওয়া রাজযোগা প্রার্থনা bhakti yoga and nishkama karma. Always he speaks about anashakta karma. আর বিচার করতে হয়. Vichara is the power of discernment, viveka and vichara. Discriminating the real from the unreal, the ephemeral from the eternal, from the infinite from the finite, absolute from the relative. God alone is real and everything else is illusory and finite. So this is vichara. Analyze what is there in this world. How long are you going to live? Money, possession, power, wealth, all that will come and go, beauty, youth. Young people are so much glamorous of their youth. Ultimately, where does it lead you? Every day you are moving towards the grave. Art is long and time is fleeting. Though our hearts stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. Longfellow, the Psalm of Life. The poet beautifully compares the beating of the heart to the beating of a muffled drum which is beaten at the time of taking you to the grave. Every beat of the heart takes you a step towards the final end. You're aging every moment. Your youth vanishes. Your body decays little by little. Your hair grows grey. Your teeth fall down. And the day which is gone doesn't come back again. And the wealth which you're so proud of and so enamored by, that simply vanishes. Suddenly, all over the world, there's a terrible economic slowdown. Everything is crashing. We were predicting a booming economy. Whole thing has come down with a crash to a halt. And this life itself is like a flash of lightning. You see a flash. Suddenly there's a bright light. Next moment there is intense darkness. So what is to be done? O Lord, you are a great giver of refuge. Sharanada. So give me refuge. Sharanagata. I am taking refuge in you. Protect me now, here. I am paraphrasing from a famous stotra, hymn by Shankaracharya, in the Shiva Aparada Kshamapana Stotram, asking for forgiveness from Shiva. Ayurinashyati Bashyatam Pratidinam Yati Kshayam Yovanam Pratyayantigata Punarna Divasa Kalo Jagad Bhakshaka Lakshmi Stoyataranga Bhanga Chapala Vidyuchalam Jeevitam Tasman Mam Sharanagatam Sharanada Tvam Raksha Rakshadhuna. These are great prayers written by avataras, acharyas, men of God for our sake. Which are, think about it, carefully analyze. Why are you so much attached? This is going to go. There's a story of a king who went on asking everybody, can you give me a small phrase which I will write down on my ring in the hand, and by looking at which I will always feel highly inspired. So many people said so many things. One Buddhistic monk came and said in English, this shall also pass. Etao jabe. A bhi jayega. The king wrote it down. Suddenly there's a great rejoicing. The king won a war and people were rejoicing like mad. Then the king looked at the ring. This shall also pass. Don't be too much euphoric. There's euphoria and the temporary evanescent outburst of joy will ultimately go. This shall also pass. Then there was an attack by the enemy. So many hundreds of people and the soldiers and the army were severely wounded, and so much of gloom over the country. Then the king looked at his ring and said, don't be afraid, don't be depressed, this shall also pass. This was Buddha's great message. Kshanikam, ephemerality, temporariness of everything. Everything will go, don't be afraid. Vichara, what is real, what is unreal? Sad asad vichara, nitya anitya vichara, what is eternal and what is ephemeral? Nitya nitya vastu vichara. Find out, is it real? Is it true? Is it everlasting? The only everlasting, true, permanent, real entity is the changeless. Anything which is changing will not give you joy because it is temporary and that is subject to time, space and causation. Desha kala nimitta. Don't take it seriously. That which is changeless, nitya, amidst all the change, amidst the anitya, that is the Supreme Self, the Atman or Brahman or God or Ishvara. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman tamatmastham yenu pashyanti dhiraha tesham sukham shashvatam netaresham tesham shanti shashvati netaresham. Among all the anitya vastu, that which is the nitya vastu, unless you realize that self within the Atman, which is eternal, unchanging essence of your personality, infinite and absolute, you cannot have joy, sukham, you cannot have peace, shanti. This is the eternal message of India. Shoka, sorrow will never leave you. Only a person who has realized that infinite self within can go beyond sorrow. Tarate shokam atmavit. The Narada Sanat Kumara Samvada in the Chandogya Upanishad. Narada was such a great learned person, a great scholar. Goes to Sanat Kumara, the great sage, and asks, please teach me about the Atma Vidya. I am in deep sorrow. I have so much of knowledge. All the four Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda, all the six Vedangas, Siksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda and Jyotish, Sarpa Vidya, Nakshatra Vidya, Bhuta Vidya, so many Vidyas I have mastered, but Shochami, I am deeply in sorrow. We have heard from great saints like you that only a person who has realized the self within, the infinite and the absolute Atman or Brahman, can go beyond sorrow. Tarate shokam atmavit. Shokasya param tarayatu. Please take me beyond sorrow. Then Sanat Kumara teaches him the Atma Vidya. This is the eternal message of India. You can try hundreds of thousands of other methods, but you will never go beyond sorrow unless you have realized that infinite absolute self, which is your real nature. বিচার করতে হয়, তার কাছে প্রার্থনা করতে হয়, আমাকে ভক্তি বিশ্বাস দাও. Then pray to him intensely, with tears in your eyes. Please grant unto me devotion, faith and conviction in the reality of the changeless entity which is God, which is Atman, which is Brahman. বিশ্বাস হয়ে গেলেই হলো, বিশ্বাসের চেয়ে আর জিনিস নাই. If you have faith, you achieve everything. Faith is not opposed to reason. Faith is the intensest form of reason, because reason is from the intellect. But faith comes from the depths of your conviction of the heart, into which the intellect merges. The manas has to be merged in the hridaya. Mano hridi niruddhya. That is a statement in the Bhagavad Gita. The mind should be merged into the heart. Mano hridi niruddhya. Vishwas hoye geli holo, vishwaser cheye ar jinish nai. There is nothing which is greater, more precious than faith. Every moment of our life we go by faith. When you walk, you have faith that the friction will hold you and you will not slip. When you live in a house, you have faith that the roof is not going to collapse and fall on you. At every moment, unconsciously you have faith that you are going to survive. Every day you see hundreds of people being killed in accidents and natural calamities and the corona pandemic and so on. But still you feel that I will survive. That's the faith. How do you know? Can anybody be sure through the intellect that he will survive the next moment? I'll meet you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Is it okay? Bye. You go to sleep. Are you sure you'll get up? Intellectually, no. But there's a faith within, deep within, that I am going to survive. That's because your real nature is existence. And you can never think of non-existence of your own self. This is Vedanta. Vedanta says you may not believe in a God per se, but you have to believe in yourself, your existence. You may refuse to accept everything. I don't believe that God exists. Good enough. I don't believe these particles which the scientists claim exist. Good enough. I don't believe this medicine is going to cure me. Good enough. Can you say, I don't believe I exist? Vedanta asks this pointed question. Come on. You are a non-believer? Yes, I'm a non-believer. I'm a rationalist. Oh, you are. Come on, tell me, my rationalist friend, do you believe that you exist? No, I don't believe. Wait. Who says that I don't believe? I say I don't exist. I have to be there to say I don't exist. So you deny yourself. Who is the denier? There should be somebody who will deny the denier. There will be somebody who will deny the denier of the denier, and so on. Finally, you get up with what is known as infinite regress, which is called anavastha dosha in Indian logic. You go on and on. The seriousness never ends. So you have to accept that I exist, because you can't deny your own existence unless you are there. So that undeniable, incontrovertible, irreducible entity called the I, that is Vedantic God. In Vedanta, Ishvara is your own higher self. My Atman, my Brahman is the Vedanta. Ishvaro Gurur Atmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapti Deeptaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Like a vast infinite sky, Ishvara, Guru, Atman, they are synonymous. So Ishvara is my own higher self or the Atman, because I can't deny it. So everybody has to have faith in his own existence, his own self. So Vedanta therefore says, you don't have to believe in existence because you are that existence. You can never conceive of your own non-existence because you are existence itself. Everybody wants to know more and more and more. Nobody says, I want to be ignorant. Why? Because that's your real nature is knowledge, consciousness. Everybody wants to be happy. Nobody says, I want to be full of sorrow and happy. Why? Because your real nature is happiness. Your real nature is existence. Your real nature is knowledge. Your real nature is bliss, joy. And therefore your real nature, in effect, is existence, knowledge, bliss. And this is not relative, it is absolute. Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. This is Vedantic God. In Vedanta, God is Satchidananda Swarupa. You can know it from your daily experience. I want to live on because everybody wants to be his own or her own self. Your real nature, your dharma. Swami Ramakrishnanandaji, the great exponent of Vedanta, in the south, he was sent by Swami Vivekananda. Such beautiful, simple expositions of Vedanta he gave. He gives an example. Suppose you take a fish out of water, place it in a throne, give it so much of honor and respect, and feed it well. What will the fish say? No, I don't want any of these. Please put me back in water. Why? Because water is the real nature of the fish, is real abode. So a real abode is Satchidananda, existence, knowledge and bliss absolute. And that is the God of Vedanta. So Sri Ramakrishna says, Vishwas che arjanishnai. Faith in God and faith in your own higher self. Because God is your own higher self. কেদারের প্রতি বিশ্বাসের কত জোর শুনেছ? পুরাণে আছে রামচন্দ্র যিনি সাক্ষাৎ পূর্ণ ব্রহ্ম নারায়ণ, তার লঙ্কায় যেতে সেতু বানতে হলো, কিন্তু হনুমান রাম নামে বিশ্বাস করে লাফ দিয়ে সমুদ্রের পাড়ে গিয়ে পড়ল, আর তার সেতুর কোনো দরকার হয় নাই। সকলের হাস্য। He gives a beautiful example. Do you know, to Kedar he says, how powerful is the faith, how much it can work miracles. In the Puranas it is said, Sri Ramachandra, who was Sakshat Parabrahma Narayan, Purna Brahma Narayan, he was Brahman, absolute, full, infinite, but he had to build a bridge to cross over the ocean and reach Lanka. But Hanuman, Mahavir, the most ardent disciple, follower of Sri Ramachandra, just because of his faith in the name of Rama, in one jump he crossed the ocean and reached Lanka. Everybody laughs. So this is one thing you will see in the Kathamrita everywhere. Shokaler Hasho, all laugh. Laughter. This is a very common thing. The beauty of the Kathamrita is that it makes the spiritual truth so simple, so humorous, and so sweet. You read the Kathamrita, you can go on reading page after page. There is no tension, there is no fatigue. But the highest truths are being told. It is not philosophy per se. It is darshana, seeing the truth as shown to us by Sri Ramakrishna in the simplest possible way through anecdotes, parables. বিভীষণ একটি পাতায় রাম নাম লিখে ওই পাতাটি একজন লোকের কাপড়ের খোটে বেঁধে দিল। Vibhishana, Ravana's brother, had great faith in Rama. He wrote the name of Rama in a small leaf and tied it in the corner of a cloth of a person. সে লোকটি সমুদ্রের পাড়ে যাবে। বিভীষণ তাকে বললে, তোমার ভয় নাই, তুমি বিশ্বাস করে জলের উপর চলে যাও, কিন্তু দেখো যাই অবিশ্বাস করবে অমনি জলে ডুবে যাবে। So Vibhishana told this person, I have written an extraordinary mantra in a leaf and tied it to the corner of your cloth. Believe in the power of the mantra, you can walk over the ocean. But beware, the moment you lose faith, immediately you will get drowned. So go on. Now you go. লোকটি বেশ সমুদ্রের উপর চলে যাচ্ছিল, and with faith in the words of Vibhishana, this man was walking happily over the ocean. এমন সময়ে তার ভারী ইচ্ছা হলো যে কাপড়ের কোটে কি বাঁধা আছে একবার দেখি। Then he thought, what is the wonderful mantra which has been written on a leaf and tied to the corner of my cloth, which is working miracles that I am able to walk on water? He became curious to know what it contained. খুলে দেখে যে কেবল রাম নাম লেখা আছে। Then he untied the knot and saw what is written on the leaf. Simply the name of Rama is written there. তখন সে ভাবলে, এ কি শুধু রাম নাম একটি লেখা আছে? Then he said, what? Only the name of Rama is written there, nothing else. যাই অবিশ্বাস অমনি ডুবে গেল। Immediately he was overwhelmed by lack of faith and he got drowned. This is a story. The moral of the story is, what is required is tremendous faith. Faith in your own higher self and faith in God, which is another name of your own Atman. Swamiji repeatedly said this. Don't think God is outside you. He is your own higher self. In fact, he made a very powerful statement. If a man has faith in millions of gods which are in the Hindu fold and gods which have been introduced in India by other religions, still does not have faith in himself, I will call him a rankest atheist. Nastika, atheist, is a person who does not believe in God. But Swami Vivekananda's definition of atheist, Nastika, a person who has no faith in his own higher self. Because your higher self is all that exists. Your existence itself. your knowledge itself, your bliss itself. Satchidananda Swarupa is your real nature. Assert it, manifest it. Infinite power will come, glory will come, all that is good and grand will come when the sleeping soul awakens to its self-conscious activity. যার ঈশ্বরে বিশ্বাস আছে সে যদি মহাপাতক করে, গো ব্রাহ্মণ স্ত্রী হত্যা করে, তবুও ভগবানে এই বিশ্বাসের বলে ভারী ভারী পাপ থেকে উদ্ধার হতে পারে. Just to encourage people, don't worry about the sins you have committed, the blemishes attached to you. I committed this blunder, I made this kind of a serious mistake, I am a papi, I am a sinner. Don't feel like that. All the papa will be washed away by the name of God, by faith in God. In the language of jnana, all the papa will be burnt away by the fire of jnana. Sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijanam santarishyasi, Gita. By the boat or ship of jnana, knowledge, you can happily cross over the ocean of sin or papa. यथैधांसि समिद्धोऽग्निर्भस्मसात् कुरुते अर्जुन ज्ञानाग्निः सर्वकर्माणां भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा. All karma, all the blemishes that you have, all the various omissions and commissions that may come to you because of karma, all of them will be simply burnt away by the power of the fire of jnana, knowledge. He says, Mahapatak kore. In Hindu religion, there are certain things considered to be great sins. Go hatya, Brahman hatya, Stri hatya. You should not kill a woman. A woman is Divine Mother herself, and a woman holds the society together because she gives birth and raises children. She is responsible for populating the society, and she has to be treated with great respect and care, love and affection. Then Brahman hatya. Killing a Brahmana is considered a great sin. Why? There is a reason for this. Not that Brahmanical caste is extolled for nothing. Remember, in those days, books were not available, nothing was written down. Everything was shruti. By constantly listening, hearing, things were memorized, repeated, and preserved. The vast literature called the Vedas had to be preserved. So our forefathers devised a wonderful formula or a technique. They took all the Brahminical families and said, each one of you should preserve one portion of the Veda. Shakha, it's called. Shakha means a branch. Yajush Shakha, Sama Shakha, and so on. And in that, so many sutras. Yajush Shakha Adhyayi, Apastamba Sutra, etc. Yajush Shakha Adhyayi. A Brahmin boy gives his identity by saying, these are the rishis to whom I owe my knowledge, Traya Rishi or Pancha Rishi. Then this is my Gotra. Gotra means the Rishi in whose lineage I am coming, and this is the branch of the Veda which I study. So that entire family is given one small portion of the Shakha, the Vedas, and they are asked to repeat and cultivate. Go on repeating this and preserve it. Now, if you kill a Brahmin, you are completely destroyed one Shakha of the Veda. It is just like a rare manuscript library. Rarest of the rare manuscripts are available there. And these manuscripts have no other copy elsewhere. Suppose the library is burnt by fire, the entire knowledge contained in those manuscripts are lost. Due to invasions, Muslim invasion particularly, how many treasures were destroyed? It is said, when the Nalanda Vishwavidyalaya was burnt to ashes by Khilji, hundreds of thousands of manuscripts were simply burned down. When you destroy knowledge, the society is destroyed. The invaders understood this. The Muslim invaders, the Christian invaders, the British, the first thing they did was to destroy knowledge. The kind of educational system that Lord Macaulay introduced in India and the colonies, just to destroy the indigenous knowledge. 1835, the great proclamation which Lord Macaulay made in the Parliament in Britain, in which he said the policy, the education policy for colonies and particularly India, it seems he said, we will give these Indians such an education by which all the indigenous knowledge will be completely destroyed. On the outside, they will appear to be Indians, but inwardly they will be completely and thoroughly anglicized. And they will serve the British cause as clerks. We can rule them only if their knowledge is destroyed. It is also said, although some people say this is not very authentic, however, it seems he wrote to his father, Lord Macaulay, I travelled all over India and I was pleasantly amazed and astonished to see that people in grinding poverty with so much of knowledge and honesty and goodness, purity and power, and living so happily, content with what little they had. And he adds in that letter, unless we give them an education by which these qualities will be destroyed, we cannot rule in India. I could not find a single thief, a single dishonest person. They are so God-loving and God-fearing. They believe in the law of karma, and they will not touch or covet anybody else's wealth. These are dangerous traits which, unless destroyed, cannot bring in a new India which we can comfortably rule. So bring in a new system of education. We have been having it so far. Unfortunately, after nearly 75 years of independence, we have not been able to get out of it. There's conditioning by Macaulay, a system of education. Give them that kind of education, everything indigenous will be lost, and Indians will think all the knowledge which was cultivated by thousands of years by their forefathers, they are all trash, meaningless, useless, and everything introduced by the British is all glorious. Swami Vivekananda laments, cries. He says, "Oh Lord, hear my wails." When will India awaken to this fact that the glorious past of India is such a rich indigenous knowledge? was so precious to us. Swamiji says, the kind of education which is being imparted now in our colleges and universities and schools are completely negative education. He says, a boy or a girl goes to school, the first thing he is taught that his father is a fool, his grandfather is stupid, and all his sacred books, the Vedas, are all lies. With such negative education, not a single original person has not been produced in 4 presidencies. What kind of education you are having? Go back to the source. Swami Vivekananda therefore wanted the revival of the ancient Indian wisdom, spirituality, inwardness, contemplation, God, Atman, finding contentment within, combined or blended harmoniously and happily with modern technology and science. He wanted a university. On the last day, 4th of July 1902, when he was having a walk with his dear brother disciple Swami Premanandaji, Swami Vivekananda said, প্রাচীন ভারতীয় ধারা বজায় রেখে তার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে আধুনিক জ্ঞান বিজ্ঞানেরও অনুশীলন যাতে হয় এমন একটি বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় স্থাপন করতে হবে. Keeping the ancient spiritual ideal intact and combining it harmoniously with the modern science and technology, we should have a university. And 2nd of July 1902, couple of days before he passed away in Mahasamadhi, he said, the spiritual impact which has come to Belur Mutt will last 1500 years, and this shall be a great university. Do not think I imagine it, I see it. What kind of university does Swamiji want? In which Paravidya and Aparavidya will be simultaneously cultivated. What he told Sir Jamshedji Tata in that famous trip in 1893 when they were traveling in the same ship to Chicago, based on which conversation Jamshedji wrote back to Swamiji, cultivation of sciences, both humanistic and natural sciences. Natural sciences, biology, chemistry, physics, and so on. Humanistic sciences, cultivation of personality, God, spirituality, goodness, nobility, purity. Both of them should be simultaneously cultivated. And men and women should be men and women of impeccable character. And with that character energy combined with modern knowledge of science and technology, they shall conquer the world. India shall conquer the world, Swamiji said, not by the power of the flesh and military power, but by the power of the spirit. Not to compete aggressively, not through acrimony and hatred, competition and envy, but through love and harmony. Every word was spoken by your great saints and sages in India, which had benediction behind it and blessing before it, peace and joy. Again, go back to the glorious India. At the same time, cultivating all that is best in the modern world. Swami Vivekananda's great dream it was to combine the best elements of the East and the West. Eastern spirituality, inwardness, contemplation, peace, happiness, contentment, harmony, joy, living peacefully with everybody, with the Western ideals of energetic work, punctuality, business integrity, honesty, hard work, perseverance, scientific temper, technological skill. What a grand combination is thought of. That was the new kind of education which Swami Vivekananda wanted. So he says here, why Brahmana Hatya is considered a great sin is because by killing a Brahmana, you are destroying a rare manuscript in a library, as it were. So the Brahmana has in his heart and his mind and his brain a portion of the Veda which nobody else has. He will cultivate that. He will teach his disciples and children. They will teach their children, and so on. Through generations of after generation, this wisdom, this knowledge will be preserved. So if we kill a Brahmana, then that is gone. So Brahmana Hatya is considered a Mahapataka, great sin. And Go Hatya, cow is considered very sacred because cow is responsible for our agriculture. Milk, products of milk, cow dung, nothing which the cow gives goes a waste. And cow dung is considered and known to be great in disinfectant. Cow's milk is so nutritious both for old people and children, which is well known. And cow is a very peaceful, calm animal. So cow was considered very important in the agriculture-based, predominantly agriculture-oriented society. And cow contributes so much to our wealth. So cows are considered great wealth. Kings used to donate as gifts to great scholars so many cows. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the great King Janaka, so fond of having discussion on elevating themes of God, of Brahman and Atman and so on, he called a conference of great scholars and said, I'm very curious to know who among you is the greatest scholar of the Vedas? Brahmishtha. Here Brahma is called Veda, Brahmishtha, the greatest knower of the Veda. Whoever amongst you is a Brahmishtha, the greatest scholar of the Veda, take this 1,000 cows I have kept here with a huge amount of gold tied to the horns of each of them. Gold is also considered great wealth because gold is the only metal known even in chemistry which doesn't get corroded, does not get polluted, does not fade away. Gold and cow, the great wealth. So Go Hatya, Brahmana Hatya, Stri Hatya, these are considered Mahapataka, great sins. तबुओ भगवानेरे विश्वासेर बोले भारी भारी पाप থেকে उद्धार होते पारे. So Ramakrishna gives this example to show the power of God's name and faith in God. If you have faith in God and you cultivate faith in God's name, then even the greatest sins like Go Hatya, Brahmana Hatya and Stri Hatya will be washed away by the grace and the power of God's name and power of God. It's just a way of saying that God's name is the most glorious, to give you the faith in the power of God. Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dhrutavigraham Vai Ishavattaram Parameshamidyam तं रामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम तत्सत्। श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।